Hey everybody, so before we get started on today's video, I have a really cool announcement. Wix was kind enough to sponsor this video, and with their help, we finally got something really awesome that I've been wanting for a long time, a website for Alpha Media, but more on that in a second. Wix is a free-to-use platform that will allow you to build highly customizable, professional, and robust websites. You can use these really simple drag-and-drop tools to create a beautiful website of your own. There's a professional solution for every need, whether it be Wix Video, Wix Pro Gallery, Wix Bookings, etc. Wix does all the heavy lifting for you. They do reliable hosting to keep your website safe and secure, custom domains and mailboxes, email marketing, and more. This is truly a platform that lets your creativity run wild. There's infinite design opportunities, every website will be personal, unique, and its own original masterpiece. You can create whatever you want, whether you're a novice when it comes to web design, a business owner, or a professional website builder. Wix is for everyone. Wix enables you to create a website for almost any purpose, be it to build a business, personal brand, or portfolio. With beautifully designed templates and all-in-one management, Wix offers hundreds of templates, unlimited pages, and top-grade hosting for free. Upgrade to one of their premium plans for as little as $5 a month to get even more. So here we are on my website, alphamedia.net, and I'm just going to give you a quick little rundown of how everything works. So on the front page, we have every video I've ever made. You can click through this video player and just watch whatever you want. On the About page, that pretty much just is me talking about who I am, why I wanted to start the channel, and here's a little button to go to the YouTube channel. And then the Patreon, obviously you know the Patreon is really important to the show. Here's a little logo. I talk about what the Patreon means to me, how it helps the show, and a link to the Patreon. If we go to the merch tab, it gives you a little preview of some of the merch you can get at tpublic.com/user/alphamedia, and there's a link over there. And then this blog section, some people have been wanting my scripts that I use for the videos, so within the blog section, we're going to be able to look through every single script I make from here on out, and so here's the one for today's video. And if I ever want to change anything, and I'm sure I'm going to update everything from time to time, I can just use the Wix editor, and everything is just so user-friendly. I can change the thumbnails in this row, I can change it from 4 to 2, 2 to 3, I can change everything on any page, doesn't matter. Having my own website for the show is incredible. It's a great way for new subs to learn everything they need to know about what goes on here. It has a bunch of valuable resources, and I'm so excited to keep adding on to it. You can click on the link in the description or go to wix.com/go/alphamedia to get started on your website today. Within any discography of a musician, there's bound to be some change over time, but that makes sense, right? Artists and bands typically experiment with different sounds throughout their careers, or if they're using the same sort of style and influences over and over again, you could see everybody getting bored of that same sound, or maybe practice makes perfect and the artist is getting better technically with every project. But I think something that's truly rare is seeing a musician go from making corny, annoying, lame, and all-around pretty bad music, and then something all of a sudden starts clicking for them, and then they end up making some pretty incredible projects. Going from zero to hero is a tough thing to ask for in the music industry, and I think one of the best possible success stories here is that of Mac Miller. Malcolm McCormick, known by his stage name Mac Miller, is a rapper, singer, and record producer from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Early in his life, he taught himself how to play piano, guitar, drums, and bass. In high school, he decided he wanted to become an accomplished rapper, and he quickly dropped sports, parties, and whatever else was occupying his time in order to do so. Mac started his career in music by going under the stage name Easy Mac and releasing the mixtape But My Mackin' Ain't Easy in 2007 at the age of 15. And we don't need to talk about this part. We all make bad choices when we're 15. But Mac did keep pursuing his music nonstop. In 2009, he started going by Mac Miller and released 2 mixtapes, The Jukebox, Prelude to Class, and The High Life. Still though, we're not really going to analyze these quite yet. It's still super early on in his career, the production is really low end, yada yada yada. Then in 2010, Mac got signed to Rostrum Records, who had recently been seeing big success with fellow Pittsburgh native Wiz Khalifa. Soon after, Mac dropped his 4th mixtape, Kids. This was really the first project that put Mac in more of a mainstream spotlight. He had been picking up traction over the years, he just got signed, and with the release of this tape, he went on his first tour, the Incredibly Dope Tour, that sold out every one of its locations. Since its release on DatPiff, Kids has been viewed over 2 million times and downloaded over 800,000. So let's talk about what kind of music Mac Miller was making at this time. I was in middle school when Kids came out, and I thought Mac was the coolest person ever, if that gives you any indication of his style at the time. Everything was super mellow, the beats were fun, and all of Mac's lyrics revolved around smoking weed, making a lot of money, being young, getting new clothes. You know what I'm talking about. He was the definition of the whole swagged out stoner persona, and he was doing that whole shtick to death. There were the super bubblegum, cheesy, corny, upbeat hits like Knock Knock. The laid-back, basic, repetitive stoner jams like Kool-Aid and Frozen Pizza. Hey, Kool-Aid and Frozen Pizza, it's a work of art, I ain't talking Mona Lisa. And then most songs did a little bit of both, like Senior Skip Day. Mac was smart. He made music videos for 7 of the songs on Kids that all started to blow up on YouTube. He was reaching some pretty, how do I say this, easy to please demographics, whether it be middle school kids like me or college kids putting on his music to party to. With fame being more and more accessible via the internet, this whole subcategory of like college rap was paying out huge. It wasn't necessarily good music, but it was popular. His next mixtape was 2011's Best Day Ever. After Kids gained such popularity, there were some upgrades in production value, but in a lot of ways, this is kind of a rehash of his previous ventures. Mac was showing that he definitely had some rapping skills, but that whole college rap talking about snapbacks and weed is just so boring and repetitive. There's no better example of what I'm describing than the titular song of the mixtape, Best Day Ever. The music video starts out with home videos of Mac as a little kid, rapping to Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight. You think to yourself, wow, he's come such a long way. He really has had this dream since he was a little kid. And then you start to hear this moody, atmospheric beat, and in your head it's like, oh my god, Mac Miller is about to drop something really sentimental here. And while the song isn't devoid of anything meaningful whatsoever, a good portion is the same old stuff. Girls, weed, clothes, money, and so on. From the best, always dressing something fresh, looking for a little dime, big butt and nice chest. Yes. The next major release for Mac after an EP and another mixtape was his debut studio album, 2011's Blue Slide Park. The first single that came out for the album was called Frick Park Market, and it was a good indication of what would come with the full project. And I ain't no hipster, girl, I can make your hipster from Pittsburgh, smoke papers over a Swisher. Welcome to the Camp Relum. This album was bad. Bad enough that Pitchfork literally gave it a 1 out of 10 score. Writer Jordan Sargent said this: Miller's world is a hermetic one, and unless it's one you inhabit, the album holds no appeal. It's a normal rap album, sure, but as listeners, we should strive for more than a no-stakes work by a guy wearing the same streetwear brands and snapbacks as everyone else who has merely found a niche and exploited it. Miller's hustle can't be knocked, and it shouldn't be, but his art is 144,487 times less remarkable than his first week sales numbers would have you believe. His success is not a mirage, no, but it is a projection. While 1 out of 10 might be a little harsh, this is a good description of how I view Mac's early career in music. He was a charming, college-aged kid making boring, repetitive music about the same few things over and over again. Whether it be weed, girls, money, or clothes, it's hard to identify with his music, let alone enjoy it, unless you're a carbon copy of Mac Miller, or at the very least, like I was in middle school, somebody who aspired to be a carbon copy of Mac Miller. Luckily though, things started to turn around for Mac the next year with the release of his 2012 mixtape, Macadelic. According to Mac, he decided to stop thinking about what kind of music he should make and just start saying what he wanted to say. This really shows within Macadelic. Instead of catering to the same crowd he'd been associated with for years, the whole frat rap kind of vibe, this was the beginning of Mac making a few changes. Sonically, there's more unique production and sampling, there's a lot of psychedelic sounds, and within Mac's lyrics, everything's a little more personal, there's more focus. Instead of going through the same old motions, you can hear the effort and pursuit of something greater in Mac's voice. We also saw some impressive features come to the table like Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne, and Cameron. Here's a snippet from one of my favorite songs on the project, Desperado. Got a pocket full of posies, some devil with a pitchfork, he talking like he know me, I'm psychopathic low-key, my hyperactive. With things starting to move in the right direction, Mac dropped his second studio album in 2013, Watching Movies with the Sound Off. This is Mac's first release that really started to have people take him seriously. It received generally positive reviews from critics, that 1 out of 10 from Pitchfork turned into a 7, and all around everything is better on this project than every one of Mac's previous releases. His flows are more interesting, the lyrics are personal and much more introspective. Mac started focusing on more riveting topics like his own mental health and depression, rather than those old frat rap themes. The features are really cool, everyone from Jay Electronica to Action Bronson, Earl Sweatshirt, and more. And the biggest shining point on the album, for me at least, is the incredible production. Mac produced a lot of the tracks under his pseudonym Larry Fisherman, and then there's other great producers like Flying Lotus, Alchemist, and Pharrell Williams. Here's a snippet from one of my favorite tracks, Suplexes Inside of Complexes and Duplexes.
And if Mars is the farthest, the man has set his target, and I don't know why I even started. I'm sick of being...
Mac's next release came in the form of his 2013 mixtape, Delusional Thomas. This was definitely the biggest leap he had taken in his career thus far. This whole mixtape is recorded through a character known as the titular Delusional Thomas. His voice is distorted in a higher pitch. The overall style of the tape has been described as horrorcore, with tons of violent, troubling lyrics throughout, and many have thought of Thomas as the sort of evil voice in Mac's head. It's also an interesting way for Mac to express himself, dealing with the harder drug use that seemed to be prevalent at this point in his career. While it didn't have wide coverage because it wasn't a full-length studio album, a lot of the reception for this mixtape was really positive. Most people were admiring Mac's versatility, his eagerness to try new things, and some even called it the best project of his career. Here's a snippet from the song Grandpa Used to Carry a Flask.
What happens when I'm suicidal, vibrations all through my spinal, from the hits to the vinyl, my mind will be in the Bible.
Over the next couple years, Mac released his 11th mixtape, 2014's Faces, and then his 3rd studio album, 2015's Good AM. I'm not really going to go too into depth here because I think there's a lot of similarities between the two. Mac's rapping was just getting better and better over time, he was trying new things production-wise, the lyrics were more introspective, and each project got more cohesive, mature, and well organized over time. Content-wise, Faces is a little bit more on the depressing end, Good AM is a little more fun and upbeat. If we're talking quality, I'd put Watching Movies, Faces, and Good AM all around the same level, with each successive album getting a little bit better and better. Here's a snippet from my favorite track on Good AM, 100 Grandkids.
I swear to God, I put the hero in heroin. These flows, kilos. I can sell snow to a ski slope.
Now for the moment when I think Mac fully and wholeheartedly redeemed himself from all the frat boy stuff earlier in his career. I think 2016's The Divine Feminine, Mac's 4th studio album, is one of the most underrated projects over the last few years. This whole album is absolutely intoxicating. With countless soulful, jazzy, groovy instrumentals, this project is charming from start to finish. Lyrically, Mac has said that the album was not about love romantically, but rather about learning from women throughout his life and what those experiences mean to him. Many would assume that the muse for this album, though, was Ariana Grande, Mac's girlfriend at the time. Ariana is also one of the features on the album, along with others like Kendrick and CeeLo Green. My favorite track on the album is the unbelievably smooth, catchy, and memorable Dang, featuring Anderson .Paak.
Protection, all your dress is bulletproof. You safe with me, girl.
And now we get to Mac's most recent release, 2018's Swimming. I know it hasn't been long since it dropped, and maybe my opinion will change over time, but I think this is my favorite Mac project yet. He took plenty of time to record this album, so everything feels necessary, it's well organized, nothing feels rushed, and I know this is a sad way of putting it, but with Ariana leaving him in the spring of this year, there's some material on Swimming that goes far deeper than Mac has ever gone before. He's digging deep into his insecurities, sadness, and depression, and trying his best to come out the other side. The way this thing flows and the lyrics throughout, it's almost as if Mac is trying to find the lightest parts of a very dark point in his life. The subject matter and general tone is pretty sad, but there's plenty of positive outlooks. He's recognizing being down and trying to understand his feelings through music. Stylistically, I see a lot of similarities with The Divine Feminine. There's equal parts rapping and singing. The instrumentals are often pretty slow, mellow, and jazz-infused. Overall, I'm really loving this album as a whole, and I can't wait to dive deeper into it as time goes on. I'm gonna play the opening lines to the album from the song Come Back to Earth. I feel like it gives a really good representation of the project as a whole.
My regrets look just like texts I shouldn't send.
So as you can see, Mac Miller has gone through quite the transformation over time, from the earliest days of Easy Mac to his rise to fame with weed and snapback-induced college rap, his ascent to new ideas, his really experimental phase, and his eventual mature realization of how he sees the world. I'm genuinely proud of Mac Miller's evolution, and I can't wait to see where he goes from here. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Remember to like and subscribe if you want more videos like this. If you want to follow my social media, the links are down below. You can also donate to my Patreon, help the show, and get some cool rewards if you click the link on the screen. And I sell merch at tpublic.com/user/alphomedia. Thanks for watching, and always forward.